I went back to Monster Hunter Worlds, and it's not for the reason you may think. It might just be me, I'm not really sure. But earlier this week, there was a patch on Steam. I patched, of course, and haven't been able to get back into the game. So I went back to Monster Hunter Worlds because I had to, I had to scratch that itch. A little bit about my Monster Hunter background. Started playing Monster Hunter Freedom Unite back in 2010, I want to say, on a PSP that my brother gave me whenever I deployed. I put in work on that game. Over the course of my deployment and the flights, I put in, I think, 40 hours of and this is during a deployment, I couldn't always charge about 40 hours of gameplay. And I thoroughly enjoyed that game. And I never really played another Monster Hunter after that until Monster Hunter Worlds came out. And again, my brother was like, yo, we got to play this. And of course, I was immediately down to play. That being said, whenever that game came out, I couldn't run like the texture pack or the HD texture pack or anything like that. So I got the bare bones experience of Monster Hunter World at the time. But here we are in 2025 and Wilds is here. And there's still kind of that question that maybe people are thinking of is, does Worlds hold up? If I'm interested in Wilds and I can't play Wilds right now, can I just play Worlds? Well, thought why not just make a small video on that while I can't play Wilds. In this forced revisit to Worlds, I've put in about another 20 hours or so revisiting its mechanics, the visuals, and the overall feel. I personally don't play Monster Hunter for the story, but the narrative is serviceable at best. It's about chasing Zora Magdaros across New World with Nergigante messing with you here and there. That's the story. By the time I got to the Coral Highlands, I had already kind of checked out of the story. I wasn't really interested. I was just really enjoying hunting the monsters and collecting the items and exploring. Really kind of a new game that I hadn't seen before because I didn't have a HD pack 7 years ago. Visually, the game still impresses, especially with the HD texture pack installed. Running at max settings, it's breathtaking. The environments feel alive. Monsters look incredibly detailed. It's great to play the game. It's not Wilds, but it's close enough. However, the darker palette might feel heavy for other players coming from like Wilds or Monster Hunter Rise. One problem that I did have, because I was clicking in and out to take notes, is if I switched to borderless windowed mode, it made everything very fuzzy and it completely botched the visuals for the game. So I could not play in borderless window mode. One feature that is pretty similar though is the character creation. It's deep, engaging, and one of the best out there. It really hasn't changed, I don't think, that much between Wilds and Worlds. It's nice. It's way better than Monster Hunter Rise. If you enjoyed Wild's customization, Worlds would still deliver. One of my favorite things about this game is the combat. It's honestly the heart of the game. It still feels as intense as ever. In my opinion, it's not as fun as Wilds, but it's close enough. I've been spoiled by being able to lock onto the monster and swing on it while it's moving. The Clutch Claw, a later addition, adds a layer of cheese to the base game, in my opinion, letting you soften the monster's parts to exploit weaknesses. I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. That said, I'm coming off of 50 hours of Monster Hunter Wilds in 2 weekends. The grind in Worlds feels heavier. Monsters here take longer to bring down, and the time to kill is noticeably higher, which sometimes saps the excitement. The multiplayer adds a very unique dynamic to Monster Hunter. Being able to shoot up a SOS flare and get help normally within 5 minutes. I've never waited more than that. The only problem I had there is the noticeable gear gap when playing with highly equipped teammates. It can make it not as fun because you're doing your best and they're just sneezing on it and it dies. I did have a frustration though in Worlds versus Wilds, and that was the gearing. The gear system in Worlds, I believe, is different than Wilds, because in Worlds, you craft a piece of armor with all the stuff that you gather. Craft a weapon by crafting the base weapon and then upgrading it in Worlds. Whereas in Wilds, it's more about getting all the items together for the next tier instead of just upgrading one. Let me know in the comments below, because I can't get into Wilds to check and confirm that. On the flip side, there are some like quirky little details that add a little bit of charm. Whenever I was going through the menus, I noticed that they had something called Monster Hunter language option. Still have no idea what that adds. I turned it on, and the cutscenes and the language is all in English and still seems the same as it was whenever I played it a long time ago. I still have no idea what it's about, but these little touches remind you that the developers maybe had fun making the game. Ultimately, Monster Hunter World still stands tall after 7 years. Its visuals, mechanics, and monster design remain impressive, and the overall experience is immersive. But compared to newer entries like Wilds or Rise, it's clear there's something to be desired. For me, the slow movement in Worlds, after playing Wilds and being able to get picked up by my bird whenever I get knocked over, you miss that. The grind, the darker tone, and the heavier feel makes me miss Wilds a lot more. So I bought Generations Ultimate. That being said, this is far from a negative review. It's a first look, kind of, it's a revisit after 7 years, and I've really only scratched the surface. I plan on grinding it out to Iceborne and beyond, because I never played Iceborne. I have it, never played it. Maybe that will rekindle the magic that I'm missing from Wilds, or maybe they'll patch Wilds and I can get back into the game. Until then, happy hunting. If you enjoyed this trip back to Monster Hunter World, be sure to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Is this game still in your rotation, or does it feel like a relic of the past?